The game of pickleball is changing and you need to keep up. A few years ago, we would tell players pretty much never speed up off your backhand side, and that simply isn't the case anymore because a lot of players out there have really great two-handed backhands they can create a lot of offense with from the kitchen line. Today, I'm going to teach you how to hit a two-handed backhand speed up so that way you can be an aggressive player off your backhand side, and when you have forehand weapons and backhand weapons, it makes it a lot harder to compete with you. Even though we're talking about backhand speed ups today, it is important to keep in mind that we're only going to be working on two-handed backhand speed ups. The one-handed backhand speed up still isn't a shot that you probably want to be working on. There's some players, Ben Johns for example, that have historically had a lot of success with the one-handed backhand speed up, but most players aren't really using that shot. It's a little bit too hard to control and too hard to disguise. So today we're just going to be focusing on that two-handed backhand speed up. So if you want to be aggressive off your backhand side, I would highly recommend hitting a two-handed backhand and avoid speeding up off the bounce with a one-handed backhand. So the first thing I want to do when I'm preparing to hit a two-handed backhand speed up is make sure that I'm in the right grip. So I'm going to be in a continental grip on my bottom hand, which is my dominant hand. Remember, if you don't know how to find it, you can make a check mark with your fingers, put it on the side of the paddle and slide it down. And then my top hand's going to be in that eastern grip. So I'm just going to come with my palm of the paddle, place it right on top. If I can fit both hands on the paddle without choking up, great. If I can't, feel free to choke up, and then that's going to be your grip. The one thing we want to make sure that we're doing is keeping our fingers touching, but not overlapping. So I don't want to be here. Here is going to be good. When we're hitting this two-handed backhand speed up, selecting the right ball and being in the right position is key. So I want to make sure that I'm hitting that ball out in front of my body, which means I'm taking a ball that's probably a dead dink, and it's bouncing in front of me, so I'm able to get it with about a foot or so of distance in front of my body. So this right here is going to be my ideal preparation for a two-handed backhand speed up. Notice that my paddle tip is at about a 45-degree angle with the ground, and my left wrist is bent back, so that way I can have that paddle facing towards my target while still keeping it out in front. If I don't bend my wrist, my paddle is going to do this, which means the ball is always going to go off that way. And I want to make sure that I'm keeping that ball straight ahead or through the middle. This cross-court angle is going to be really tough on an off-the-bounce speed up. So I want to make sure that I'm bending that left wrist back so I can get my paddle face right to my target. From here, once I recognize the right ball, I'm going to brush under and up and finish right back in my ready position. So I'm not going to flick over the top of the ball. That's a super common error that I see, is coming all the way over it and brushing too hard. I'm just going to come from here back up into my ready position. It's a push with a little bit of flexion in that wrist. So when I get that ball, it's going to look just like this. I'm going to come under and push straight out forwards to my target, following through back into my ready position. What's important here is I want to make sure that I'm not following through all the way up over my shoulder, because when I come here, I'm not going to be ready for the counter. I have to be ready to counter that ball. So when I come back to my ready position, now wherever my opponent goes, I'm going to be ready to block it back and engage in that firefight. But if I follow through too much, that ball is going to blow right past me on the counter attack. So I have to make sure I'm keeping my follow through nice and compact. That way I'm always going to be ready for the next one. Now watch what happens when I don't keep my follow through compact and I'm playing somebody with really good hands. No matter where that ball goes, I'm pretty much not going to be ready for it. So you got to make sure that you're keeping that follow through nice and compact, straight back into your ready position. Finding success on your speed ups has a lot to do with selecting the right ball. That's one of the most important things. If you can select the right ball, as long as you're not overhitting it and you're picking a pretty good spot, you're going to see a lot of success. So when I'm in my dink rally, it's important to make sure that I'm looking out for dead dinks only. So these dinks right here are a lot more neutral. So whether I'm going at it with two hands or I'm hitting a one-handed backhand dink, I can't speed these up, because if I do, I'm way out of position and I can't cover the counterattack. From here, if my opponent even gets the paddle on it, me and my partner are going to be in a lot of trouble. So I want to make sure that I'm speeding up from the position that I like to counter in. So once I get that ball that sits up a little bit and is right in front of my body, that's the one I'm going to go on. I'm going to hit a couple that are difficult. So these ones, or they're wide, they're low, and as soon as I get that one that's high and I can stand still, I'm going to hit it. I want to make sure my feet are planted, I'm hitting the ball out in front, and then I'm going to speed up. If I'm in motion, so I'm going back like this, if the ball is low and I'm speeding up from way below the net, I'm going to be in trouble. So I have to make sure I'm waiting for that ball to sit up so I can plant my feet and attack.